from KRA and all the other agencies, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And I will encourage those of us who took a loan from the university, if you can afford to pay, please, let us pay. It's the honorable thing to do so that the next bunch of kids can also access university education. On the interest is calculated by actuarial scientists. It is not meant for government to make money. It is just meant for it to be sustainable. That by the time you're paying, if you had been given 5 shillings, it is still 5 shillings that you pay. I don't know whether that is the correct position. Again, Higher Education Loans Board, you are the people who calculate the interest. Can we lower the interest, or you want us to take it up?
Your Excellency, we did a study in 2015 called the NFAC study. And that study showed that for any 100 bob we are lending out, we are recovering 48 shillings only. Now, if that continues, in about 30 years, that fund will not be there. So, although we are charging 4%, and you know the inflation is about 8%, so we are losing the money on a daily basis. So, the consideration to increase may be considered maybe after this cohort of new funding model complete their course in the next 5 years, maybe.
I don't think that's very good news. So I think we keep the interest the way it is. He wanted a lower interest. He didn't want a higher interest. You are talking about. So I think the interest at the moment is not sustainable, but let's keep it there as we figure out what to do next. I will take another bunch of questions. Where do we start this way?
Commander-in-Chief, my name is Felix Ocheng. I'm the president of Daystar University. My question was on the variables of the MTI regression analysis. Like the independent variables, like the primary school one went, the high school one went, may not really reflect their level of need. Some of us happen to be beneficiaries of well-wishers right from preschool. Now when we want to gauge our poverty index by the primary school and the high school we went, it might not really reflect our level of need. And as though there are appeals, they are not always successful, and this is to the detriment of our constituents. And again, Your Excellency, I know you've talked about capitation and about maybe trustees owning private and public universities, but I'll give you a case study of Kisii University. They had an influx of students, and their facilities were so stretched. Whereas a school like Daystar University, we have a state-of-the-art School of Law and School of Nursing, and these facilities are laying bare, and some of these students could also come and learn with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Okay, maybe I take another. Yeah, maybe this way.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. I'm Ongaro Richard from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University. I have but a question. In the first case, I want to ask the people from the Health Board. That I'm a 4 years per now, but when we joined, we applied for these loans. And so I'm expected to settle my loan, that is summing to almost 240 plus the interest. I know it can't exceed over 300,000. But today, with the new funding model, how much are these students expected to pay at the end of their 4th year? Another question. You say that the banding began in 1986, but it never sounded like it sounds today. We never knew that these bands existed. Okay, maybe the ideas and the ideologies are good, but the mode of implementation has gone astray. why could you do this? So that these students doesn't know or get to know where they're placed, because as they join, they must ask, which band am I placed? So that they can know which fee they're going to pay. His Excellency, in the field of education, is a place that requires silence. It doesn't require spectators or fans to cheer as we sit in class to take our exams, or a referee to be biased on the other team. Under the capacity of your office, you are capable of facilitating and capacitating the reconstruction of this new funding model to be worth for us. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you for this chance.
Okay, they are saying too much behind. Maybe after you will come forward here. But
With respect to hierarchy, my name is Melody Weremonjeri from JQuat. I'm also a law student. My question is on late disbursement of funds to students. As it stands, in the previous, there are previous instances where late disbursement of loans to students was a common occurrence. And I happen to be to sit in a chair, to chair in a bursary committee in my university, and it's really disheartening to see students unable to do their exams because school fees has not been fully catered for by the time the exams begin. What is the government or the help planning to do in that regard so that we can minimize these instances of late disbursements to universities? Thank you.
thank you, Melody. Finally, we'll do another round. Then we'll come back to you and we'll come to the people here. Yes? Who? Okay, somebody in front.
I want first to acknowledge your presence. I have a few things to put across, Your Excellency. First, when I entered this hall, I like checking where I am. I saw from whatever is written here, hashtag fee has fallen. Your Excellency, the fee has not fallen, that's why we are here. So, and first thing first, Mr. President, I've been privileged to be under your administration in two capacities. One, I enjoyed your administration when you were an MP in Eldoret North.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, we used to learn hapo Kamagut hapo chini karibu na kwenu. Yes. And secondly, I've also experienced your leadership now that you are the president. Mr. President, I can assure you they are totally different. From when you were MP, people used to go to the street to celebrate your achievements. Nowadays, we just go to the streets to demonstrate. And Mr. President, don't get me wrong in the first place. The reason is why I know when you are the president, it comes with a lot of responsibility and people to advise. And I will start off by saying those who advised in this new funding model, I will not be wrong to say there is a problem. And that's why we are here. We have to go back to the drawing board. We have to start off afresh. And my question is, Mr. President, the first question is, what was so wrong with the old funding model that we could not sit down and amend it? Because even a constitution of a country, you just don't wake up one day and bring a new constitution. We always go and say, hii clause imetufinya kidogo kama wananchi. We go to the parliament, they amend it, and they take it to the president to assent and sign it. So I feel we should go back to the old funding model and amend it, because, Mr. President, we don't lack stakeholders, we don't lack resources. These people sitting here, watu wanafanya law, nursing, medicine, there are brains here which can sit down in those panels and say, where did we go wrong? First, I want to acknowledge that the new funding model has got good ideas, very brilliant ideas, but the implementation is very wrong, and it's not pleasing, based on the fact that there are also challenges from the help. You know, when comrades sit in the same room with the help guys, it's a miracle. But we are very happy to sit down with them and discuss in your presence. Mr. President, I want to also talk about, I come from KEMU, which is a private university. And my question there is you have spoken, I've understood what you have said in regards to scholarship and the loans. Comrades, kama SG we ndio mtu wa mkono. I have my president here, Masai Chebet. Comrades come to you and tell you, Kisero, we have been placed in this band, and people are really suffering, Mr. President. And my question is, why then do COOPs have to place them in private university if they can't be sustained the same way as those in public university? And in that regard, Mr. President, I acknowledge that you have said the government, this is my chance with the Mr. President. You have acknowledged that the government said it has debts, and my university is one that is in the same category. Tunadai the government. They have been so lenient enough to allow students to learn with the limited resources they have. Tunaomba tu hata kidogo ndio university iendelee kufanya kazi, because we need to learn, those who we are there in KEMU. Then, Mr. President, recently you were awarded a beautiful degree at Baraton University, if I'm not wrong. Honorary degree at Baraton University. And there was one picture that really took my attention. I know most of you saw the picture. There was a little girl called Naomi who was in the midst of graduates, and he was there admiring all the graduates, the beautiful gown. Then I asked myself, why does this new funding model want to kill the dream of that young girl of one day graduating? I want to say this, Mr. President. As the commander, I first started by saying I acknowledge your president as your presence as the 5th president and the commander-in-chief of our defense forces. And one of your roles in that regard is to act. Please act, Mr. President. We beg you. Please act. Then lastly, namalizia kabisa. Lastly, Mr. President, we don't have to go to the street when we can resolve this thing here today. Ama namna gani wangwana? Yes. Because we also don't like going to the streets when we can solve things at the table. We are ready to be part of the discussion. We are ready to listen. We are ready to work and ensure that we change this. But the bottom line remains, let's go to the old funding model, amend it to what you wanted to achieve with the new funding model. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Which way? We are finished with here? Let's go here now. I think we are making one round. We started there, we came here, we came there. Okay, so where? Maybe in front here, or somewhere, yeah. Okay. Your name, please.
Asante sana mtukufu rais. Jina langu ni Brian Waka kutoka chuo kikuu cha Rongo. Tunapokusanyika hapa siku ya leo kwa ajili ya kuzungumzia masomo katika vyuo vikuu. Mtukufu rais, hatuwezi soma pasipokuwa na usalama. Tungeomba utupe usalama sisi wanafunzi katika vyuo vikuu. Aghalabu katika kila chuo kikuu tuwe na police bases ambazo zitatusaidia, kwa sababu comrades wanapenda kuona mpira usiku na wangependa wapate usalama. Jambo la pili, Bwana Rais, nitazungumzia uongozi wa wanafunzi katika vyuo vikuu. We need a student body, an active student body that will fight for our priorities and our grievances in that commission, or rather that committee that you set for academic, or rather to do investigations on how we are going to better our learning programs and institutions. Therefore, Mr. President, tuko hapa viongozi kutoka vyuo vikuu mbalimbali hapa nchini Kenya, na hivi karibuni tutazindua chama chetu, na tungependa Bwana Rais, katika baraza lako uweze kutupa fursa ya kuweza kuwa na mwakilishi wetu ambaye ataweza kuleta mambo ambayo yanatusumbua kule kwenye ground. Mimi napenda sana naibu wako, huwa anatuambia kwamba yeye anasikiza ground akikuambia. Kwa hivyo, we need also someone in that committee that will help us bring our ideas on the table. Thank you so much, Bwana Rais. Asante.
Thank you very much. I think those are 4. Let me answer those ones again, and then we will come back to another round of questions. Felix Ochieng, I think right here. You said that correctly, that some of the criteria used in this whole assessment of the funding model is what primary school you attended, what secondary school you attended, and that kind of classification. Let me tell you, Felix, that it's important, because I will tell you that any student who attends a national school has 85% chance of joining a university. In other words, I'm telling you that 85% of all students who go to a national school go to university. Only 10% of students who go to a day school have a chance to go to university. So when we find a child who has gone to a day school in some rural place, we give them a leg up, because it means they have to work extra hard to be able to attain the same grades. Because in many of those institutions, as I told you, Felix, they don't have laboratories. Many of them have very inadequate number of teachers. And that is the real problem. So some of these parameters may look small, but they mean a lot in terms of the students. Let me also tell you that, and this is something that really, you know, I know, I don't know how to put it, but only 10% of the children of the poor make it to university. It is very serious. It is something that depresses me. Yeah? Because number one, they cannot afford to go to a national school. They cannot afford to go to a private school. Many of them hardly, you know, they end up in a day school somewhere at home. So this is one hell of a conversation we must have. We cannot continue as a nation to have an education system that shuts out millions of the children of the poor. I don't know how to put it. It's as blunt as that. If you look at the curve of students in our universities, the children of the poor are absent. They are the ones in those 3,500 secondary schools that don't have teachers, they don't have laboratories, they are day schools, they are in those areas. It is the reason why I have asked the Ministry of Education. I am putting 3 billion shillings in Nairobi to build 5,000 classrooms, because Nairobi slums are the worst. Those are the children of the poor. They never go to school, and they are in the city here. P.S., you know that. I have discussed this with the governor of Nairobi. I have discussed this with the MPs of Nairobi, and so many other areas. We need a lot of affirmative action. So, Ochieng, to your point, it is because of that realization that some of the parameters we are using, you know, a child that has gone to a bridge school in Kibra or some school in Lokichogio, you know, it is something for us to consider when we are looking at how to place them. So we will continue to improve on the model. We are not saying the model is perfect, but I think to a great extent it is towards 95% in the right direction, and we will keep improving on it. Mongaro Richard, you have told me that by the end of your 4th year, your loan will be something like 240,000, right? And you are asking me, what will the new guys, what will be their loan after 4 years? It's going to depend on the course that they are pursuing. Let me tell you, Richard, you know, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. The old model, the differentiated unit model, assumed that all courses were the same. And a course in medicine costs the same as another course in a different subject. The reality is that it is not. University chancellors are here. Vice chancellors are here. I don't know whether university vice chancellors are here. Who is willing to tell us that there is a difference? Yeah? Yeah, they are here. There is a difference. And this model recognizes, this new model recognizes that a course in medicine costs 600,000 to train. A course in education costs 180,000 to train. And therefore, for a student doing medicine, government of Kenya gives more for the student doing medicine as a percentage, because it costs more to train that student. And if we don't give more to train that student, we will end up with a student who is, with a graduate who is half-baked, because we didn't give them the resources to train the student correctly. That is the difference between this model and the other one. So there is every reason why we have to interrogate this model. Let me ask, any vice chancellor who is willing to tell us, you know, don't worry about kusalimiwa. Sisi wengine tumezoea kusalimiwa kila siku. But you know, the truth is the truth. It cannot be changed. I want a vice chancellor who is here to volunteer Eh? On, yes, Mwalimu, and you say which college you?
Your Excellency, I happen to be the Vice Chancellor of Alupe University. Also previously a member of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, and a member of the party that recommended this model. And we agreed, which tunasemezana.
You know, let's listen. You know, we are intellectuals.
Yeah.
You know, and intellectuals, you listen to reason.
Yeah.
You know, we are not a mob. We are people who want to reason. And I like what Junior here, Kisero, he said. He said, we want to listen, we want to challenge, you know, and we want to be part of the solution. So let us listen. And you can challenge what the professor is saying the same way you are challenging what I'm saying. I mean, it's the right thing for intellectuals. Professor.
Your Excellency, I'm going to pick on a course in my university, which we are beginning in September, and that is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. A Bachelor of Science in Nursing, in preparation for that program, we've had to spend almost 3.8 million to prepare equipment for nursing, even before we start. It's not the same as preparing students for teacher education, where I need the 4 walls, I need a micro-teaching lab, which does not cost even a quarter of what it will cost me to prepare a nurse. And indeed, the skills lab for nursing alone, even when Q was telling me I'm ready, they have still been given other things to buy, are going to cost me 1.67 million. So preparing a nurse is very expensive. And so we cannot have the same cost for preparing a teacher, preparing a doctor, preparing a lawyer, like the differentiated unit cost was doing. Indeed, colleagues and our students who are here, some of our universities were paying us 60% of our salaries using the old model. But right now, if I am able to get the correct banding for my students, Your Excellency, I'll be able to support even capital development within my institution within the next 2 years. And that is the truth of the matter. I will not have to beg for money and ask for money and wait for capitation. But I do take on board your concerns about the correct banding, so that there is a normal curve depending on how we deal with our students. So, Your Excellency, I will say all courses don't cost the same. And our students should appreciate that if we get this money and we don't do our best with that money, then we are responsible for what is going to happen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. Richard also said maybe there is a problem with the mode of implementation. Maybe there are good ideas, but there is a problem with the mode of implementation. Richard, let me take you back a bit, if you allow me. I have had occasion to sort out 2 other problems like this one in our education sector. When I became Minister for Higher Education, for 19 years, students had to wait for 2 years before you can join university. And nobody wanted to sort it out because it was difficult. Every minister dodged, danced around it, because people don't want to solve problems. It is easy to color problems, or we have a big problem. Talk about the problem. Explain the problem. So, but it's difficult. I it's okay for people to talk about the problems. I see many people, oh, you know, there's this problem, the students are being placed in the wrong band, this model is not good. But I have tremendous respect for the people who have ideas on how to solve the problem, on how to come up with solutions. Yeah? So, I sorted out the problem of university students having to wait for 2 years. It was difficult. I was called names. People said I was going to destroy the education system. But we were incurring huge losses. You know, a student finishing Form 4 and waiting for 2 years, many of them, by the time they were going to university, many of them had dropped out. Others had gone to pursue other things. Some of the girls had gotten pregnant, you know, and it was just chaos. So I took it upon myself and drove a program that eventually, in 1.5 years, we sorted out the problem.